Wysocki.
Here we go with Weather and Ag in Focus in a snowy Coral Laundromat studio. You know, if you don't want to be driving down the street, it's probably a good idea for you to go over to the Coral Laundromat today and get some laundry out of the way. You could stay. They've got fireplaces, flat screen TVs, places for kids. You could do all sorts of things at the laundromat today when it's a little brisk and snowy outside. Addison's looking at me like, who hangs out at a laundromat?
Honestly, the way you sell it, I'd rather go there than home.
This is what I'm saying. It's a place to hang out. You can take all the cool stuff over there, too, like your horse blankets. I know you have a lot of them, right? He's laughing at me. Addison's like, I don't know how to saddle a horse.
Wow. I've been on a horse once, not an experience I want to do again.
Okay, earlier this week, you and I recorded some Focus on the Field, and one of them had to do with lice in cattle. So, frankly, if the lice are still active in the winter months on livestock, so if you think you have a lice problem, you should take those horse blankets and get them washed at Coral Laundromat Coral Laundromat, because who wants that in your own washing machine?
Yeah, it sounds a little gross. That sounds like a smart idea.
Voila, there we go. It's going to be a day of all sorts of exciting things like that, because I have with me today one of our assistant ag directors, that is Taiton Axtman. He is joining us, sponsored by the Cass County Farm Bureau. Taiton, how are you?
Good, and yourself?
Good. Pull that microphone way close to you, pal. All right, we're going to like that. I'm doing well. I skated here. How about you?
I'm more so skied here, I say.
Oh, yesterday, a little bit much in the weather department. Was it a bison day at NDSU?
It was a bison day at NDSU because we really showed our strength. SDSU shut down campus, UND shut down campus, but we were just out here staying strong in the cold.
Power through it. We can get to class from here. Mm-hmm. Although you did mention that there were some things in the ditch that didn't look like a good idea.
Yeah, this morning driving down the road, saw an ambulance in the ditch, so rough day for that team.
Yikes. So tell us more about you.
Sure. So grew up in Fargo here, but spent a lot of time up central part of the state, Fessenden area, farm with some uncles. Senior at NDSU here in Fargo, going for ag econ, crop and weed science, get to see the business and the science side of agriculture. Do quite a bit on campus with our Collegiate Farm Bureau, as well as our Saddle and Sirloin Club. I'm the manager for this year's 100th Little International. Mm-hmm. That's February 14th. So
yes. Valentine's Day.
Yeah, things are getting really busy with that, but it's exciting.
You can take your sweetheart dancing in the chips for Valentine's Day.
Yep, that's just it. We got Silverado band playing in the chips after the show, so it'll be a great time.
Show of hands, who knows what it means when we say dancing in the chips? Addison's like, I don't know, you two are new here.
I got nothing.
Care to explain it to us?
So every year for the past 100 years or something like that, NDSU, we put on a big livestock show, have about 150 contestants this year, all students, and afterwards we have a band come into Shepherd Arena. It's one of the more historic buildings on campus. Play some great music, and we all have a good time and get down with it in the chips.
And in the show arena, the floor is covered in wood chips, which makes it easier for the show. Mm-hmm. And when you try to dance in the chips, you are about mid-calf deep. So it's fairly exciting. I just like watching Addison's reaction to us in the studio today.
You asked me what it could possibly, if I knew what it was, and I was like, "There's no." But I had like an idea in my head, and I was like, "That's not it. That's stupid."
See, you were not far off.
And then he started explaining it, and I was like, "Oh no."
Ag is wearing off on you, Addison, every day.
I'm learning.
All right, the weather might be too. We had some pretty serious wind gusts west of the Red River Valley yesterday. Partial, North Dakota hit 70 miles an hour. Cullum 67. Henry, South Dakota got to 77 miles an hour. And in my wealth of useless knowledge, which literally comes from a book called The Book of Useless Information, I just would like to hold that up for the camera to see. Yes, I'm the proud owner of this. We now know that a wind with a speed of 74 miles per hour or more is designated as a hurricane. So yesterday, with all the wind and the snow that we had, maybe it was a snow cane at Henry, South Dakota at 77 miles an hour. Snow totals got pretty deep. I had about 4 inches in Hunter. Any measurement that you've heard for Fargo at Hackton?
I think 4 or 5, somewhere in there, and plenty of wind.
About 6, so you're pretty close. Grand Forks, 8 inches of snow overall, but there were some localized areas that hit 11. A lot of snow.
That's too much snow.
Well, That's a lot of snow. But what's coming next? Well, Dean left us some weather. So if Addison can show it, play it for us, that would be great. Now, in reference to those heavy winds, we have a listener comment. It actually comes from one of our morning show hosts, Jace. He said, Henry, South Dakota is 25 miles from his hometown. His sister in Aberdeen had records of 74 miles an hour. So it was gusty through the central part of the state. Again, if it started at partial at 70 miles an hour and was working its way all the way down through Aberdeen, etc., it was a lot.
That's great kite weather.
It was a little chilly on the kite, but it was
wear
fun.
a jacket.
You should wear a jacket. And I feel like as college students, there are moments I want to drive through that campus and tell you all to zip your coat, put on some gloves, and for God's sakes, don't you have a hat?
Yeah, sometimes it's just too big of a rush to get out of the house, and things like that get forgotten.
Put them in your pockets, run that string of mittens through your coat. Come on, pay attention. Okay. So for those who are listening today, I hope you're enjoying the fun that we're having. That weather report is brought to us by Progressive Ag Risk Management Specialists. Now, in addition to that, it is Wednesday weather trivia, and we'll be doing trivia later on in the hour. So be ready for that. That will earn you a rain gauge from Darter Plastics, and you will, in fact, be able to call us on the JLA Insurance phone line. 701-293-9000 is how you can reach us later when we do trivia or during the time that we talk about headlines and have our guests on for the show today. Guest joining us today will be Michael Donahue. He is with Tempest Fire Systems. Fire, you say? We talked about a few points of why we thought this was interesting before we even got on air. Do you remember what some of those points were?
Yeah, just kind of seeing around the state, around the region, a couple different producers struggling with dryer fires, combine fires, things like that. And, this might be a great opportunity to learn about, some ways we can maybe manage some of those.
And we had some pretty big fires with elevators this year. A couple of them come to mind in Hatton and Mayville. And maybe he's got some solutions for those businesses. But also, I think fire in general is usually a common concern amongst many producers, whether you're in grain or livestock. If you are watching today, you'll be able to see us as well as Michael, our guest, on our live stream brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities. That is viewing pleasure on Facebook, YouTube, and Acres TV. And lastly, I will do my best to keep an eye on my inbox as well. That is weather at flagfamily.com is Dean. I'm ag at flagfamily.com. And our inboxes are powered by Superior Grain Equipment, so you can protect your farm's future with Superior Grain Storage, drying, and handling solutions. They are at superiorbins.com. All right. We want to check in with the livestock report from the American Ag Network, which I just noticed. I have some links to videos in an email that I'm going to have to send over to Addison that we can show in the live stream, brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities. We'll take care of all the behind-the-scenes things and be back right after the livestock report. It is a brighter and sunnier day here at Weather and Ag in Focus as we see the sun come out and reflecting off that snow. And I have a guest host today, my assistant ag director. He is joining us as a representative of the Cass County Farm Bureau. Just for folks who might have missed that in the introduction, go ahead and give a little snapshot of yourself again.
Yeah, just quickly run back over it. A senior at NDSU, going for Ag Econ, Crop and Weed Science. Do quite a bit on campus and get to farm with some uncles up in the central part of the state. But more than happy to be here today and get to talk about a little bit of weather and quite a bit of other stuff, as we've already learned, and finally see some blue skies start to peek out here in Fargo.
But so far, neither one of us have said your name, so I don't know if we're going to make that a trivia question later, or you want to just...
Oh, yes. Taiton Axtman here from Fargo originally.
Oh, Taiton, today's going to be a fun day. See, it goes so fast, right? We're already a whole segment through.
Holy moly.
Guest joining us today is Michael Donahue. He is with Tempest. All right. There has been some fires as of late, and what could we possibly be learning today, Michael? I bet there's a lot of things you can share for us in the farm community about who you are at Tempest and what y'all do.
Well, Tempest has been around for about 40 years, and except for the first few years where we were building ventilation products, specifically fans to build or to fill up hot air balloons, we've now, over the last 25, 30 years, moved into fire prevention. And we produce positive pressure ventilation fans for firefighters, both commercial, city, and military. Positive pressure ventilation helps cool the area, helps push the flames and the smoke back. It makes it safer for the firefighters to go in there, and reduces the opportunity for a flashover, which is basically when everything in the room just hits all at once, reaches its ignite point, and everything goes up into a fire. What we have today is to discuss our EcoCAF 3 program, which is basically a 3-gallon water tank with firefighting foam to make it easier for our farmers to take care of the equipment they have, take care of the land they have, and do so without destroying the land that they grow their crops on.
Okay, let's talk just a little bit about that. And I want to make sure I wrote down everything correctly here, Michael. A 3-gallon tank with foam, correct?
Yes. Think of it as firefighting foam that you see firefighters use on aircraft.
Okay. Before I ask specifics about equipment, machinery, et cetera, one of the things right now that folks are very concerned about are the forever chemicals, the PFASs. And we hear a lot of talk that we have soy foam, which is a soy flour based foam that we can be using. So tell us about the foam that's in this system, because more eco-friendly, not a PFAS. What does all of this start to look like for us?
Well, BioX is our sister company. We're all part of the Leader Group, which is a worldwide organization that is dedicated to helping firefighters across the globe. BioX created the first fluorine-free foam approximately 23 years ago. No PFAS at all.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that can be used, and it's not going to destroy the land underneath it.
Because that is a situation where some of these foams get used, and it's almost like a soil sterilant, right?
Yes. Well, look, when you use the foam, if you have a fire that is ignited by, say, a harvester is running through the fields collecting, and for whatever reason, the accumulation of dust and debris underneath the vehicle gets to a hot point and it creates a fire. First thing they're going to do is move their equipment out of the way, but you want to get the fire contained as quickly as possible without destroying the land.
Mm-hmm.
So the EcoCAF 3 shoots out a fluorine-free foam. It's a 3-gallon tank. You put about 4 ounces of foam in there, pressurize it with an air compressor to about 110 pounds of pressure, and you can turn a 3-gallon tank into 30 gallons of foam. And what the foam does is suppresses the fire. It cools the area and keeps it from reigniting.
Man.
And the benefit about this is it doesn't hurt the soil.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seep down to the water table and contaminate it. It doesn't contaminate the soil, and farmers would be able to regrow their crops in that area.
Boy, I tell you what, let's focus on the positives here. And you just listed a lot of them. So 3-gallon of water, where you said 4 ounces of the foam.
About 4 ounces of foam. Yeah.
And then we're pressurizing to about 110.
Correct.
Now, I can visualize how much space that takes up. Are we mounting these on combines, grain carts? What does that look like, and how do you attach them?
Well, I learned at the Big Iron Farm show that you folks had out there recently that farmers, when they have their equipment in the fields, they'll have a 3 gallon water tank. They could have a halon tank and a chemical disbursement tank. So they're carrying three different tanks to fight three different types of fires. What you folks are probably going to run into most is what we call Class A and Class B fires.
Mm-hmm.
Class A is your basic wood, your grass, your grain, whatever the case may be. Class B is your fuels, your oils, gas, diesel, all of that. We have what's called a Bio 4N foam, which handles both of those fires. So look at it this way: with a 3 gallon water tank, it's spray and pray.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you get enough water on the fire to put it out. If you do, you're lucky, great. But what about the possibility of reigniting? Because that ground's still going to be hot,
Absolutely.
maybe wet, but it's still going to be hot.
And
The dry chemical disbursement,
uh-huh.
that erodes every piece of equipment that it's going to touch, and it doesn't do that good for the land.
No.
Halon, I'm still not sure why farmers carry a halon tank on their tractors unless it's for the cab cockpit.
Mm-hmm.
And at the farm show, I did look into some of those tractors, and it is basically a cockpit. They have advanced so much.
There is.
It's incredible.
There really is. And I laugh about that as well, because especially as you start to look at some of these combines that don't even have steering wheels anymore, right? So,
Yeah.
Just from personal experience. So, Taiton, have you guys ever had a combine fire out in the field at Pheasant End?
As long as I've been there, and luckily we have not. But.
Okay. Combine fire survivor, if you will, right here. It was my brother and I. We were still in high school. We were the only ones on the field. He was in a combine. I was in a swather. And I could radio him and say, I see burning chaff falling out of the back of your machine. And don't stop. Keep going so that we don't have a chance for it to stop and really flare up. And I had to go to the end of the field because I couldn't take a big header bouncing across the rows. I had to go to the end of the field, get a pickup, and come back. Michael, you're going to love this. We put that out with all the leftover grape pop that nobody would drink that was in the cooler on the back of the pickup. We shook up the cans and sprayed it up there till the fire department came. So we could have been a little bit better prepared.
Well, look at it this way: the farms out in North and South Dakota, especially, are immense,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't have local fire departments, every 5-6 blocks, or 2 or 3 like a city does.
Sure.
So you're counting on volunteer fire departments, and in your area, the volunteer firefighters are farmers.
Yes.
So if they get a fire call, they have to leave what they're doing, however many miles away, however deep in their farm they are, get their equipment, and then make it over.
Mm-hmm.
With the EcoCaf 3 and the other EcoCaf products that we have available, you could help mitigate and suppress the fire a lot quicker than they can get there. And if anything, if it doesn't put out the complete fire, you're keeping it held at bay until the firefighters actually do arrive.
We have way more to talk about in regards to that. But then also we've had a rash of grain dryers and elevator fires, and how can Tempest be part of the solution to those as well? And so after our news break, when we return, we'll continue our discussion. We have Michael Donahue with Tempest with us, and we're going to talk all about fire today. We'll be back. I just heard that reminder for Tech Support Farm, and that brings up the fact that Chris with Tech Support Farm is currently hosting online webinars so that you can listen to what are the things you should be most concerned about. Maybe they're topics he's talked about here on air with us. Maybe there are things that are just in the back of your mind and you're thinking, maybe I need to have a little bit better protection for my farm or agribusiness. And this is where his webinars that are coming up right after the first of the year would be helpful. And you can find out the dates and where to register by going to techsupport.farm or giving Chris a call. Okay, we are visiting with Michael Donahue. He's with Tempest. We're talking about fire protection. As we were visiting off air, Taiton, what was one of the questions that you had for Michael?
Yeah, so we learned quite a bit about some of these systems that they have, looking at the agriculture industry. Could you speak a little bit on how big of an area we can expect some of these to cover, or how much of duration some of that foam might last?
Like that EcoCaf 3?
Yeah, the EcoCaf 3 is basically a water can with a converter kit inside of the housing to create the foam. But that's probably the smallest one we have available.
Okay.
We have 30-gallon tanks, same premise, 30 gallons of water, equivalent amount of foam. And you, instead of 30 gallons of water, you're shooting out 300 gallons of foam. And that goes all the way up to the 60-gallon, and we have up to a 200-gallon tank.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine the 30, the 60. The 60 would probably be a little bit too big, but you could put a 30-gallon tank on the back of a UTV, side by side, something like that. So you have quick access to get out to wherever the fire is. 60-gallon and higher, you could put in the back of your truck.
Okay.
It makes it a lot easier, especially have a lightning strike or some kind of spontaneous combustion in the field from compression and fermentation. So we have multiple sizes, multiple variants available to you.
Well, that's helpful because as we talked about, would you potentially mount the small 3-gallon tank on, say, a grain cart and then have that accessible, right? But maybe you want to put one of the bigger tanks on your service truck. And I don't know if you have folks that are doing that already, Michael, but that might be a good fit for them.
Actually, we do have people that do that right now. The U.S. Forestry Services mounts these on the back of UTVs so they can get inland into the forest areas a lot quicker. Military uses these on the back of their trucks so they can attack fires either like away from an airfield where you have jets and planes, helicopters, and focus it more in a barracks area or the administrative side of the military base.
Okay.
What we're trying to do right now is we're reaching out to people like Case, Caterpillar, all the different manufacturers of tractors, combines, harvesters, what have you. I know that they supply a 3-gallon water tank with a lot of these that mounts on. We're trying to get them to consider putting the EcoCaf 3 on there to give the farmers better equipment and equipment that can do a lot more help putting out fires than a regular 3-gallon can of water.
Sure. Very cool. And so moving a little bit from the equipment sector of things to the grain handling side of things, do you guys have anything that, might be used in a commercial grain elevator at, a local dryer on a farmer's yard or something like that?
Okay, well, I'm not too familiar about the grain elevator systems, but I do know the silos where you house all the product that you harvest.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the time, the compression helps lead to fermentation of the harvest that you have in there.
Right.
When you drop a sprinkler on there and you douse it with water, you're pretty much going to lose everything that was in that silo.
Mm-hmm.
With the foam, it actually will put out the fire and then stop. So it builds up like a cake layer, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
So all you have to do is just, once you get to that top part, is remove it, and then the rest of your harvest is safe.
Okay. Because when the foam is put in there, does it then, you said it forms like that cake layer. Does it harden?
Yeah, it doesn't
Or
harden
firm up?
per se.
Yeah.
It firms up a little bit. It makes it like a sponge, if you will,
Okay.
so that it's easy to collect and take out.
Okay. When we were talking about grain elevators, we've had a couple of big grain elevator fires up here.
Recently,
Yeah, this fall, Hatton and Mayville come to mind. There's a couple other that were not complete loss. And so maybe that's a further discussion that local fire departments want to have with you, Michael, is okay, here's what we have. Maybe this is an area in which we could visit. You guys may be able to help us with a suppression system in certain areas of the elevator. But then I want to talk about livestock too. If you think about some of these larger barns, have you guys put some of these systems into barns, or are you using any of the positive pressure ventilation in those barns as well?
We haven't done a whole lot of farm work,
Okay,
to be
good.
completely forthright.
Good, you're
And
here. Now we're going to talk about it.
well, here's the thing. We went to the Big Iron Farm Show, and we brought a lot of different ventilation devices we have, as far as battery powered fans, your DeWalt Milwaukee. These are fans that run off of the batteries, and they create 10, 11,000 CFM, cubic feet of air moved per minute. That helps. It helps not only with pushing back flames and smoke, but it also helps maintain a safe environment with all the dust and particles that's collected in the barns during the time. You guys have heat warmers that go into these barns during the winter time to protect cattle, horses, whatever the case may be, livestock. There's always a possibility of fire. You think the Chicago fire back in history where a cow kicked over a lantern. Same premise. It could happen. Probably it doesn't happen as much nowadays, but it could happen. Nobody really wanted to look at our fans, but everybody was interested in the EcoCalf. And I think that's going to be a big component that can help farmers out moving forward. The ventilation will always be available. We will always make sure the farmers know what we have available. We're always engineering new items. I think our biggest item is a 60-inch fan that sits on the back of a Peterbilt truck chassis that could extend 20 feet in the air and kick out Hurricane 2 force winds to help put out fires. And we have fire departments all across the country that use those vehicles. But EcoCalf and our battery operated fans, I think, would be the best help for the farmers, not only to mitigate the fires, but also to help with processing of the harvest that you have, to keep all the dust, particulates, stray flying objects out of the way when things are coming out of the chutes. It could be a very good help.
Very cool, Michael. And as we talk about the farmers, and we talked about earlier, a lot of these farmers serve on some of those local firefighter boards, and for those districts. What are some other products for those local, maybe a little bit smaller fire districts that don't necessarily have the massive funding or the massive pool of equipment that the bigger cities might have that your company offers?
Well, the ventilation fans, the foam that we offer, we also have a line of search and rescue gear that includes thermal imaging cameras.
Oh, yeah.
These are used by firefighters and industrial folks alike. I could see how it could be used on the farms. If you see smoke, you can look and see if there's actually fire going somewhere, or you see a heat source starting to generate in your crops. So some of the tools that could be used, yeah, I think they would come in very handy on the farm. Right now, we're bringing on a new line of cameras. I don't want to go into too much detail yet because we haven't gotten that finished up. But these are small handheld cameras with Bluetooth and Wi-Fi settings, the whole 9 yards. You get very good images on cold spots, hot spots, infrared spots. That would be handy for farmers, I believe, at some point. But right now, I think the biggest things that Tempest offers is the foam and the ventilation.
Oh, I have a feeling you may get more questions the longer you're part of this industry, and you're going to learn some things right along with us. But farmers are like the best inventors of what they need on the farm. They just need you to go build it for them, Michael.
Absolutely. And you know what? We're a big company. We've been around for 40 years, but we are not the size of an aircraft carrier. We are more of a frigate. We can turn things pretty fast. So if farmers had something that they thought of that could help them, and we can produce it, manufacture it. We do all our manufacturing here in the USA in Fresno, California. I know that's a big deal. I love that especially. We could work with anybody to help develop any kind of ventilation product that they could come up with.
So where can they reach you? Website, contact information, anything like that that people should know, Michael?
Our website is tempest.us.com. And our phone number, if you want to reach us, is 559 277. Need my glasses. 7577.
I completely
It happens when you
understand.
get older.
To all of us. All right. Thank you, Michael.
Right
So glad that you're here. Folks, do not forget, we still have Wednesday weather trivia coming up. You're going to be able to call in on the JLA Insurance phone line of 701 293 9000. Questions you might have, or if you missed where Michael's contact information is at, you can email me, ag@flagfamily.com. And as, of course, that's sponsored by Superior Bins. And how fitting that we're talking about grain storage, potential fire situation, but Superior Bins is keeping all of that grain well stored when we need it and also making sure my inbox is smoothly taken care of. So we'll return for trivia and some headlines and some weather after this. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Wednesday Weather Trivia. And today it's going to be brought to us by our Assistant Ag Director, Taiton Axtman. All right, are you ready for this?
I'm ready. Are you?
Yeah, we had quite the background discussion on true or false, but it comes from the book of useless knowledge or useless information.
The very thick book of useless information.
So that is where the answer is coming from, people, no matter what Google says. So here we go.
So today's trivia question from a Weather Eye section of the book of useless information. A normal rainfall falls at what speed? Looking for an answer in miles per hour.
There you go. Okay, so this is the point where people can call the JLA Insurance phone line of 701-293-9000. Addison is doing a fantastic job. He's just waiting with bated breath for the phone lines to light up. It's good. It'll be a good one. It'll be a good one. And what do you remember? Did you hear what we said? What the winners get?
What was that?
It is a National Weather Service approved rain gauge from Darter Plastics. Now the thing with these rain gauges is you can pull the center tube out and you can collect snow, and it still doubles on its duty for the winter months. So.
Could have used one of those last night.
You could have. And those will be available here at the studio. So the winner will be able to stop by here at the studio between business hours of 8 to 5, pick up their winning rain gauge when they give us the right answer. But so far, no one has called in. I haven't seen the phones light up yet.
You've stumped everyone.
Are you feeling lonely in there, Addison?
A little bit.
I'm so sorry.
Give me a call. Give me an answer. Just
That's
give me a
right.
number. Any number. I'll take a number.
And the question again was?
The normal average raindrop, what speed does it fall? Miles per hour.
What speed does the raindrop fall?
I can hear people Googling furiously.
I hear they're typing as we speak. Okay, so while Addison is checking that out for us, we have some other things that we're going to visit about over here, Taiton. And one of them is the changing face of what's happening in labor for ag. So you work on the farm with your uncles.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you see automation as a part of that? Or do you have them or some neighbors who are maybe using H2A workers?
Yep. So at the farm, use quite a few H2A workers and get to see the struggles of that, both on the administrative, the paperwork side, and then also when it comes to, having new workers sometimes every year and getting them trained in. But on the side of automation, we definitely are getting to see a lot more of that, from simple things of turn automation in some of these new tractors, which I personally haven't had the most success with, but I know some guys who use it, and all they do is click a button, turns around, puts implement back in the ground. But we're starting to see a lot of different stuff, and we're feeling a bigger push to embrace some of it. Whereas maybe over the past couple of years we've had the option for some of it, but now it's like, okay, this is kind of becoming the norm. Let's make sure that we embrace this to be competitive.
As we see more H2A workers coming in because we are having trouble finding enough labor, and that process has gotten longer, more drawn out. It can sometimes be rather maddening if we're going to have that employee on the farm in time, right, for the season that you need. Do you look at, I'm sure you've seen the videos of these human-looking like robots. Do you see that as ever being a fit for the farm operation that you're involved in, Taiton?
I that's a really good point you bring up. And at the end of the day, I don't think you can ever replace a person sitting in the cab of a tractor reading the ground. Can I drive through that area? Am I going to get stuck? What's going to happen? Do I need to put seed there? Are the plants even going to grow there in the first place?
Does anybody see that big giant wet spot we should drive around?
Yeah. So when it comes to things like that, it becomes really tricky because there are so many processes on the farm that we could replace by automation. But what are the economics of it? What's the feasibility of it? What have you seen on some of these videos or through some of your work with automation?
We've got a variety of things that are out there. One of the first things I think about, we've got more automation in, say, dairy and livestock automated feeding, et cetera, where someone's supervising that. But if we do see more robots, if you will, as AI gets smarter, we could potentially see more robots on the farm. Maybe they become affordable. A robot doesn't need health care or housing in the same manner. But who's going to train them? So what if down the road, 25 years from now, you retire from your professional career after you graduate from NDSU? What if you're the trainer, so to speak, to train the robot? Feel uncomfortable, or do you think it's a possibility?
I think we're always resistant to change, and that does sound like a very daunting task. But it's something that if that's what the agriculture industry needs, agriculture is inherently sustainable, and that's something that we will adapt to. And in being at college, we're starting to see some classes that are dealing a lot more on the ag tech side of things, and through some different degrees and programs, you get into some of that programming side. So I think that we are preparing a workforce for that, but just how fast and when are we expecting to see that?
Well, and when you think about as you're graduating, some of these certifications that you can be getting, farms are looking, certainly every farm would hire a diesel mechanic if they could to save on cost of repair, but maybe having your drone pilot's license or having your commercial applicator's license could make a difference. We have not yet had a winner for Wednesday Weather Trivia. We might not get one today.
Looks like Addison's just loving life over there on the phone.
He said the answers are getting closer, but we don't have a winner yet. We may have to carry that over till tomorrow. So we will ask that question again tomorrow. We will look for a winner for the rain gauge. So don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show is next.
Readel